What's up, guys? UFC 272 goes down this Saturday, March 5th, 7 p.m. We'll be covering the main card. There are 4 fights currently. Unfortunately, the co-main event, Rafael dos Anjos and Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev had to pull out due to COVID, so the new co-main event is going to be Edson Barboza versus Bryce Mitchell. But for now, we're going to be taking a look at the first fight of the main card, and that's going to be Sergei Spivak taking on Greg Hardy. Sergei Spivak is the young heavyweight former prospect coming back into the bright lights following a first-round finish loss to rising star Tom Aspinall in September. Pryor was able to pull together 3 straight, which includes longtime veteran Alexei Olenek. Sergei has had a victory in 2019 against Tai Tuivasa, which resume-wise is the best win to date. His losses were to well-established top 10 and top 15, so we're not deducting really any points from that. Walt Harris was a monster 3 years ago. Marcin Tybura is on a career resurgence and has looked mightily impressive. And lastly, Aspinall, who faces Volkov next, could be the next big thing. Sergei isn't one of these big power punchers, but his ability to ground and pound and establish heavy top control is not to be underestimated. We're going to take a look at Greg Hardy. Most recently is 2-2 in his last 4, coming off a back-to-back knockout losses to Tai Tuivasa and Marcin Tybura. His other loss back in 2019 was against Volkov, and Hardy impressively held his own. Hardy's wins are really nothing to boast about. All fighters either no longer in the UFC or bottom top 30. Hardy's ability to transition from the NFL to MMA is pretty impressive and scary due to his athleticism and that most heavyweights really don't possess. Hardy has shown signs of maturity in the cage and improvements after each fight regardless of the outcome. He hits like a truck and enjoys pressuring his opponents. Hardy's ground game is still in question, and that's what may be tested here. I can't see Spivak wanting to stand and trade with Hardy, as he could lose that battle quickly. Spivak will try to use his wrestling and top heavy game to tire out and land some ground and pound. If Hardy can't stop the wrestling, it's set and match. Spivak isn't a top tier wrestler though, and can see folding quick after several hard shots from Hardy. Hardy has faced tougher and quite frankly much scarier opponents. If Olenek can give Spivak fits on the feet, there's no doubt Hardy can, which is why I'm going to side with the underdog Greg Hardy to get the finish on the feet and put himself back into contention. Alrighty guys, next up we're going to take a look at some welterweights here, as Kevin Holland moving down from middleweight, taking on Alex Oliveira. We're going to start with Kevin Holland, former middleweight, making his welterweight debut here, coming off a no contest in his last bout against Kyle Dawkins in October, where he was knocked out briefly by a headbutt and then submitted. Then prior to the no contest, he came up short in both recent decision losses to Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson. His last biggest career win came against recently cut Ronaldo Souza in 2020. Holland is very tall for both weight classes, standing at 6'3", and trains at a solid camp in Travis Lutter BJJ. Holland's career wins have all been against formidable top 25, showing off submission victories and stopping power ability. Holland is game on the feet, fights tall, and has good hands, and is no stranger in the grappling department. The only thing he struggles with is his takedown defense and allowing his opponents to control him on the ground for periods of time. Facing a dangerous grappler and dropping down a weight class, there are quite a few questions that need to be answered, like how his cardio will hold up, how his chin will hold up, and will his power and speed come with him. Alex Oliveira, coming off 3 straight losses, wants to start the new year off right and knows this is a do or die situation, as a 4th loss could potentially lead to a departure. Brazilian Cowboy has shown finishing ability in the past, but since 2019 has either been to score cards or has gotten finished himself. As of late, the submissions have not been good to him. We can say now Oliveira is considered a veteran, but not a very good one, with all due respect. All the wars are starting to catch up, and at 34 years old, it's hard to believe he could take any more severe damage. I really believe Oliveira's best chance of victory is to go for the takedowns and to continue to shoot even though there are failed attempts. Controlling Holland on the mat is key, but as we look at who was successful doing so, it was highly decorated wrestlers like Derek Brunson, and we know Oliveira is not on that level. Now, I'm not completely confident in Holland due to this being a weight class below. We don't know how his chin's going to hold up, but Alex isn't considered a power puncher, so I'd imagine he'd be okay. I'll side with the younger, fresher fighter, and I think we see more of a mature, big mouth Holland. Alrighty, guys, we're going to move now to the co-main event as Edson Barboza takes on Bryce Mitchell. So we do know, unfortunately, that Fiziev pulled out. There are rumors going around that Islam Makhachev could step in. He just fought last week, so we'll see. If he does come in, I will post a breakdown of that matchup in the comment section below, so please look out for that. Alrighty, guys, so the new co-main event is going to be a featherweight bout between veteran Edson Barboza versus Bryce Mitchell. Edson Barboza is 2-1 in his last 3, most recent coming off a third-round stoppage loss to rising prospect Giga Chikadze in a pure striking affair. Edson was game going back and forth with Giga, but the speed advantage of Giga was apparent. During the fight, Edson got caught up in an anaconda choke but was able to pull out through. In my opinion, Edson didn't look like he lost a step. It was just a tough matchup. Sure, he's getting a little bit older, but he's still game. Pryor has gotten wins over Shane Burgos and Makwan Amirkhani. Looking at Barboza's resume, he's never had an easy fight by any stretch, losing close decisions to Dan Ige, Paul Felder, to fighting title challengers like Justin Gaethje, and in his most impressive win, in my opinion, coming in 2018 against Dan Hooker, still showing he's a dangerous striker. Bryce Mitchell, a young prospect coming off tough as a fan favorite, riding a 5-fight win streak post his last tough loss back in 2018. We really don't count that because that's considered an exhibition bout. His most recent and most impressive win to date, coming against Andre Fili, was a fun back and forth bout in October. Then prior to that, a couple of top 25 or 30 opponents, which he simply outclassed, and rightfully so. Bryce somewhat possesses a Tony Ferguson-like scrappy ground game, always threatening with dangerous submissions and very unpredictable on the mat. His stand-up has shown improvements, but that isn't his bread and butter. The only way for Bryce to win this fight is to hurt Edson on the feet and lock in a submission. Getting Barboza down won't be easy unless you are Khabib or Michael Johnson with a high-level wrestling. Bryce knows not to test the waters standing. I'm a big fan of Thug Nasty, and I want to see him do well, but I think this fight may be a bit too soon for the young prospect. Yes, Edson, like I mentioned, is getting older, 34 years old, and yes, he has been through hell and back since 2010, but looking at his submission losses, which is Bryce's bread and butter and path to victory here, because he's not going to want to strike with Edson, have been because he was stunned and wobbled by high-level strikers like Donald Cerrone and Tony Ferguson. Bryce doesn't possess the hands or power to go toe-to-toe with Edson Barboza, and Barboza will try to exploit this while looking to defend the takedowns. I'm going to take another underdog here. I'm going to take the veteran, Edson Barboza. Alrighty, guys, and now for the main event of the evening. This is a very exciting one. I cannot wait for this one. The hype is real. We have Colby Covington taking on Jorge Masvidal. Colby Covington is 1-2 in his last 3 fights, suffering 2 championship bout losses to the current champ Kamaru Usman. The first coming by a 5th round finish and a close decision the second time around. In between the 2 fights, he defeated former champion Tyron Woodley dominantly. Colby really didn't take off in his career until defeating Damian Maia, and since then has beaten former champions convincingly. There's no denying Colby would be the champion if Kamaru wasn't around. From Colby's decorated wrestling background and impressive 5-round no-stopping cardio, he's a force to be reckoned with. Colby's stand-up has gotten significantly better over the years, but the question remains, can he outbox his former best friend and teammate, Jorge Masvidal? Masvidal is coming into this bout post 2 championship losses to Kamaru Usman as well, but the difference being he was knocked out clean in his last one. Masvidal has taken almost a year off since that one, which is the right amount of time. At 37 years old, he's nearing the final stages of his career, and it's been a fun one to say the least. From the lightweight division to moving up to welterweight, Gamebred has been a fan favorite. His recognition really took off after Ben Askren finish and the Nate Diaz BMF title fight. As good of wins as those two were, I really believe his most impressive win was against Darren Till in London, as he was a big underdog in that bout, and he knocked him out cold. We know both fighters' strengths and weaknesses. Colby wants to exploit Masvidal's takedown defense, while Masvidal would want to keep this on the feet. It really comes down to what Colby wants to do. Should he want to prove something and stand with Masvidal, then it may turn out to be a shorter night for him. There are questionables in this fight, and it really comes down to how Colby wants to fight this fight. Will he play it safe and assume that he will land takedowns and cement his dominance on the mat for the win, or will he want to stand it up? I think we'll play it safe. I think despite this being a pay-per-view without a title on it, the hype and rivalry has certainly warranted a pay-per-view main event. I'm going to stick with Colby Covington. He's going to take him to the ground, utilize some ground and pound, show some dominance, and that's how he's going to finish the fight. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. This was the main card breakdown for UFC 272. Stay tuned for next week's main card breakdown for Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev. Have a good day, guys. See you next time.